Hi, y'all, and welcome. I'm Dr. Lindsay Matthews. I'm your BirthFit founder and CEO, and I am recording this session, this episode, for a double duty. I believe this information is really, really important. And so I want to share this with our BirthFit podcast audience as well. So this information will be part of our core content in the BirthFit Education Foundations course, which is our online education. And that is for anybody that wants to be a BirthFit leader. So if you are a coach, if you are a yoga instructor, if you are a Pilates instructor, if you are a chiropractor, if you are a physical therapist, an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, an OB-GYN, a midwife, anybody that works in the women serving world, in the birth world, if you care and serve for women and their families, this BirthFit Education Foundations course is for you. And like I said, this is a double duty episode session. This is an episode that is part of our core content. And just like much of the other topics that we talk about in our core content, our BirthFit Education Foundations course, I know this subject matter is going to be triggering, highly polarizing, and just really pull at some emotional strings. So I'd encourage you, if you know you're not going to listen from an open mind and an open heart space, to hit stop and come back at a different time. This will still be here, I promise you. Unless unless the censorship gods have banned it. But I'm gonna take a sip of coffee with raw milk and some Bubs collagen, and then we're gonna dive in. Mm. All right, I got my timers going because I don't want to use too much of your time. My goal is to keep this around 35, 45 minutes. So I will do my very best. As a reminder, the BirthFit podcast is here. I brought it back after a year of hibernation because I want to give you information. I want to give you tools by which you can critically think, um, education, information for you to make your own intuitively guided, informed choices. I want to bring you freedom in parenting, freedom in the motherhood transition, freedom in preconception, pregnancy, postpartum, and overall your lifestyle practices as a woman. So, yes, I speak to women. I speak to women and their families. So this podcast is not only for women, but if you're listening and you want to share with your favorite women in your life, those ones you love most, I'd encourage you to, because it's juicy. Mm. All right, so today we are talking all about fertility after birth control, after hormonal birth control. And we have a blog on this on the BirthFit website. If you did not know, birthfit.com, if you go to resources, we have a blog section there that has all kinds of free information. And, you know, ideally, women receive true informed consent before being prescribed the pill and information about transitioning off the pill with conception in mind. However, both you and I know that that has not been the case, and that is not always or often the case. Um, just before we get into some details, hormone or birth control pills interfere with ovulation and implantation while simultaneously altering the environment of our cervix. these hormonal birth control pills are extremely effective at preventing pregnancy and disrupting hormones and physiology. This is why I label them as the biggest hormone disruptor ever. Side note, the first oral contraceptive, Innovid, was approved by the FDA in 1960 while JFK was president. This was less than 100 years ago, and women had access to little to none of the contraceptive options that we have today. So here's two big reflections that have come up for me. Women who were constantly thought of as the healers of their families, the medicine women, the nourishers, like, what's in your mom's medicine cabinet? What's in your grandma's medicine cabinet? Like, those are things that come up for me. So, when they began to take a pill a day, a medication a day, how do you think this impacted culture or society? For me, before, the nourisher of the family did not take a pill a day, but now they're taking a pill a day to prevent pregnancy, and this is just a subtle way that medication and pills started sneaking into our lives. So that's what comes up for me there. All right, next kind of thought bubble that came up for me. Women became even more disconnected from their bodies due to a pill shutting down normal bodily functions in healthy individuals. How do you think this impacted the next one or two generations of mothers and daughters? That's a pretty powerful one for me because I was somebody that, as you know, grew up very standard American, and my sex talk was, that which we had in school, which was, a few ugly pictures of STDs and then don't have sex. And then at home, don't have sex because that leads to pregnancy and that's a sin. There was no empowerment around my body as a female, not from school, not from, women in my maternal lineage. There was nothing. When I first got my period, it was like it wasn't anything that was celebrated. It wasn't anything like, "Oh my gosh, this is your 5th vital sign. How cool is this? Your period blood can tell you so much." Nope, that wasn't there. So I'm almost certain that many of you had similar experiences. And, the pill is an instance is, a time where we started to hand over the power that is within us as women. And it's the first time, like I said, that somebody that was healthy was put on a medication, a pill. And so, growing up with somebody that, maybe witnessed your mother still taking hormonal birth control. Maybe your mother put you on hormonal birth control to help regulate your periods. All of this is just kind of reiterating how the power is outside of us and not within us. When in reality, we have the power inside of us. We have everything we need inside of us. And so I think that that thought bubble is quite profound, and maybe you can journal on that a little bit. You know, um, I just think it's that those two thoughts came up for me. A pill begin to be accepted daily, and a pill for healthy people begin to be accepted. That's pretty wild. Um, but we're not going to dive into the history too much, even though I'd encourage you to get into the history of the pill and check it out because it's quite interesting. One of the things that comes up for me along, like in the history of the hormonal birth control pill, is that part of the history includes lobbying to put inserts in for hormonal birth control pill. And that really was, the first instance in which drug companies were required to have inserts, with side effects listed. So that's pretty wild. All right. So I also want you to note that the pill bleed is not a real menstrual bleed. The creators of birth control had to create a pill bleed so that the pill copied a female's menstrual cycle and it would seem/feel normal. The creators, Dr. John Rock and Dr. Gregory Pincus, Pincus, designed the pill to have a 28-day cycle. There was no medical reason for that. They could have designed that with a 35-day cycle, 30-day, whatever, but they picked a 28-day cycle with a pill-induced bleed. So we're talking about in this episode, we're talking about things to consider and things to do when coming off hormonal birth control, because it does influence your cycle. It contributes to cycle irregularities and less than optimal fertility. And research has shown this for at least 6 to 18 months um, coming off hormonal birth control. For 6 to 18 months, there's documentation, research of cycle irregularities and less than optimal fertility. Um, it is known to delay ovulation and also have a shorter luteal phase. And the luteal phase is so, so important after uh, luteal phase after ovulation for supporting that implantation process. Mm. Um, Hormonal contraceptive has been documented to shrink the ovaries by 50%, lowering AMH levels. And let me see if I can pull up some. I got books and books and books over here because I want to share this with you. Let me see if I can pull this up. I think this was the. Where is AMH? Sometimes it's just better to read this to you. All right. So if you're checking out your ovarian reserve, the most common marker is the AMH, which is the anti-Mullerian hormone antifollicle count, and ovarian volume. Serum AMH levels provide an indirect measure of how many antifollicles you have in your ovaries. And your antifollicle count gives you a measure of your current egg supply. So if you're a woman and you're going through IVF, serum AMH levels have been shown to be a good predictor of how many eggs your doctor will be able to retrieve. If they don't do AMH or you don't check ovarian reserve and you go straight for like the IVF process or egg retrieval, check that first. That would be helpful. Um, Also look into Mercier. Part of the abdominal gyno visceral massage, visceral manipulation that we do involves enhancing blood flow to the ovaries. So, anyways, I will come back to this, but yeah, hormonal birth control has been known to shrink the ovaries by 50%. Another thing, I just want to get these out there because some people still think the birth control pill, the hormonal birth control, is a godsend. And, I do think it gave women a bit of freedom and a bit of autonomy. But I also believe it at the same time, I do believe it was used to for a bit of control. And yeah, that might be weird to say. So on one end of the spectrum, you can see how the pill gave women more freedom by allowing them to have sex freely, stay in the job market, that sort of thing. But I do believe, the without the true informed consent, and it's another form of control, and in the sense of like trying to make men and women equal when I don't think we're equal at all. I think we're very different beings. We have a different biology, and I wish we would celebrate our uniqueness, our sacredness, and yeah, I think we're as women very magical beings with lots of power that some men have been scared of in the past. And if they're a true man and very, and they embrace their masculine energy and their masculine components, they would protect us. They would, provide while the feminine in us can expand and create. Those are just some of my thoughts. But anyways, going back to hormonal birth control, I want to read you this also. Risk and side effects also include cancer. A high dose estrogen pill increases your breast cancer risk by 3 times. A moderate dose estrogen pill increases your risk by 1.6 times, and the Depo-Provera injection increases your risk by 2.2 times. 1 year after stopping the pill, your risk will return to normal. So, that's cancer. That's not good. Okay, moving on. Blood clots. All hormonal birth control carries a risk of blood clot, and that risk was known almost from the beginning. Barbara Seaman wrote about it in the 1969 book, The Doctor's Case Against the Pill. So they knew about this, and yet they still released this pill without first of all, without the inserts. All right, the absolute risk of a blood clot from any hormonal contraceptive is small. Even NuvaRing, which carries the highest risk, has an absolute risk of 9.7 clot events per 10,000 women per year. The clot risk goes up if you smoke, which you're not supposed to do if you take hormonal birth control. But there is that side effect, so keep that in mind. When I was first prescribed hormonal birth control, cancer, blood clots, and depression, they were not shared with me. Depression is the last risk that I want to share with you. And what I'll say here, I'll read this here. In October 2016, when the prestigious medical journal JAMA Psychiatry released a groundbreaking study called Association of Hormonal Contraception with Depression. In that study, researchers from the University of Copenhagen tracked 1 million women over 13 years and found that girls and women who used hormonal birth control are significantly more likely to be diagnosed with depression. The risk was greatest for teens using progestin-only methods, such as implant or Mirena IUD. Not good. Not good. Risk also includes loss of, sex drive, hair loss, and weight gain, gut disruption, acne, things like that. But those are the biggest things, and those I wanted to share with you were not like cancer, blood clots, and depression. They were not shared with me when I was originally put on hormonal birth control. I've been off hormonal birth control probably for over 15 years now, and it was honestly the best thing I could do for my health and wellness. And so I do want to share with y'all some of the things to start to consider because the pill, hormonal birth control, depletes your body of essential nutrients. And you couple that with our modern standard diet and lifestyles, which also deplete women. And that's I need you to know that. I need you to know that, especially if you're considering having a baby in your future or 10 years from now. I need you to know that. Mm. All right. So, hormonal birth control pill, like I said, destroys gut health, messes with the liver's health, and contributes to other nutrient deficiencies. So, I got some notes here, so I make sure I cover that. Whenever somebody gets off hormonal birth control, our year is at least a full year recommendation of um, working with your cycle, being off the pill before attempting conception, before opening the gates, before being open to conception. Why? Because you need at least 3 months of detox. And I'm not talking like green juice detox. I'm talking about supporting your liver, eating really nourishing foods, focusing on quality of sleep, sweating. Like I'm talking about that kind of detox. And then you need 3 months minimum to nourish yourself. Um, a female's egg takes around 100 days to mature, which is why we kind of break it up into 3 months. And if you look at traditional cultures around the world, they recommend, women, couples, some like focusing on a very animal focused, nutrient dense diet for at least 6 to 9, 12 months, depending on the culture or tribe before conceiving. Um, so keep that in mind. All right, some of the nutrient deficiencies include B vitamins. This is huge. B vitamins and trace minerals. We'll get back to some B vitamins, but trace minerals include zinc, selenium, phosphorus, magnesium, CoQ10. Those are all super important, super important. When you're on the pill, you need more vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E. And when you're on the pill, your serum levels of copper, iron, calcium, and cadmium are elevated. So, as I said earlier, it's the biggest hormone disruptor. It's a perfect storm of hormone disruption. That's why many women come off and they have thyroid issues or PCOS or, really any kind of anything. It's because their hormones are out of whack. They can't regulate their insulin. They can't sleep. They don't know how to work with their emotions. It's a hot mess. And when you are transitioning off of hormonal birth control, I would strongly recommend that you have a support team available. Um, People in your wellness corner to support you because your nervous system is so dysregulated. Your nervous system influences your hormones. And all of this, like I said, is a perfect storm. So I would recommend that you have a nervous system based chiropractor in your corner. I would recommend that you have an acupuncturist in your corner, and maybe a nutritional therapist of some sort, somebody that believes in real food. Um, Yeah, and believes in eating animal products. Plant-based is not the way to go. Um, it's just not. You cannot convince me. Mm. All right, so B6, pyridoxine or pyridoxal 5-phosphate. It is needed for brain development, nervous system development, immune function, contributes to mood stability via serotonin. It's part of protein metabolism, needed for blood sugar regulation. This is one of the big ones that the pill um, depletes our systems of. You can get this in things like liver, beef, pork chops, avocado. So B6, B6, B6. All right. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the other B vitamin I wanted to talk about was folate, which is known as B9, or some of us might just know it as folate. It is not the same thing as folic acid. Folic acid is the synthetic version, the man made version. So if you are working with somebody that says, oh, you can get folate in fortified cereals or this supplement, this prenatal has folic acid. No, stop that. Don't do it. um, don't do it. First of all, folate is essential for fertility and neural tube development. Neural tube development is the development of our nervous system. Um, like I said, hormonal contraceptive contraceptives decrease our serum levels of folate by impairing the metabolism of folate. Most most of the folate in our body is in the form of 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate or 5-MTHF. So if you're looking on your supplement bottle, you might see that as a form. Um, that's like 95, 98%. If you're consuming folic acid, our bodies have to convert it to that form in order to be used. Excuse me. I don't know if you can hear that. So it's not a bioavailable form. And I want things in my body, I want to consume things that have the highest bioavailability. Um, for those that have an MTHFR gene variation, which I do, many of us do, 40 to 60% of the population have at least one MTHFR polymorphism, then we have trouble converting folic acid into that 5-NTHF. So there's really no effing point for us to consume folic acid because we're going to ask more energy, more expenditure. We're going to ask our body to do more than it has to. Um, MTHFR is an enzyme involved in folate metabolism. So if you have that gene variation, like I said, it's hard to convert something like folic acid to the bioavailable form. Mm. So B9, folate, that's huge. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why you need to nourish yourself after coming off of hormonal birth control. Huge. There's research now that suggests men with MTHFR gene variations are at risk for sperm abnormalities, especially when they consume folic acid over folate. Um, just something to be aware of. So, like I said, 1 year off hormonal birth control, 3-ish months to detox, 3-ish months to nourish your soul. And here's some bullet points to think about. As far as detoxing, like what are the biggest things that support your natural detox pathways, sweating, liver, like those are the biggest things that come up for me. Lymphatic drainage. So maybe maybe you start to invest in something small like a rebounder, a mini tramp, and you do that build up to 3 minutes a day. Sweating. If you aren't near or in the weather to sweat, like if you don't live in a hot place, then maybe you invest in a sauna or maybe you go to a sauna. You've got to sweat. Dry brushing, a bath where you sweat with Epsom salts, magnesium. That's like throw some ginger in there. That's a really nice way to make a bath more heated. Dry brush before you get in the bath. Even just patting yourself down and wiping that energy off, that helps so much. Liver support is huge. Castor oil packs, using a sauna lamp just on your liver, coffee enemas, those help a ton to support your liver. Stop drinking alcohol, like little common sense there. Um, like seriously. And believe me, like I share this with you because I used to crush Budweiser in high school, um, and college. I freaking loved beer. I loved alcohol. If you went to college in Texas, you loved alcohol. Um, but I can finally say that, my liver feels the love. Mm. Supplements like glutathione will really support the liver. Um, so anything you do to boost your body's glutathione helps. Um, yeah. So just working with your body's natural detox pathways. Get a lymphatic drainage massage. Those are awesome. Trying to think what else. I know I got a list somewhere, and I've sent some of you a list, but that's where I would start. Gua sha, use a gua sha tool. Um, yeah. Sweat, move. Movement is huge. Like, don't be sedentary. Don't be sedentary, Sam. Um, so yeah, replenish nutrients. As toxins start to exit your body and you're flushing your body, signs and symptoms will arise. You may get a stuffy nose, you may get weird aches and pains. Just trust the process. That's why it's important to have a wellness team, and replenish your nutrient stores. Like I said, the pill destroys the gut, and that include like your gut health, your vaginal flora. So you've got to rebuild this. And, you know, one of the best things to help rebuild gut flora and other floras like vaginal flora include fermented raw milk products. So I'd encourage you to strongly consider that. And if you haven't explored the work of Weston A. Price and Sally Fallon, definitely go check them out, and check out realmilk.com. But that's a like restoring your gut is huge. Um, Tracking your cycle. You've got to start tracking your cycle during this period. And like I said, for what is it, 9 to 18 or 9 to 12 cycles after hormonal birth control, you can expect like it's going to take that long to regulate your cycle. There's 6 to 18 months of cycle irregularity, and less than optimal fertility, research shows. So work with your body, get to know your cycle again, pretend like you're dating yourself again, start to touch yourself again, wine and dine yourself, take notes about your cycle, have fun with it. Um, you're gathering information at this point. You know, people always ask me, should I get blood work done right away? And yes and no. You could get blood work done, the week you come off hormonal birth control. And then if you do that, I would recommend doing it again 3 months later and then 3 months later because so much is gonna change. Or you give it 3 to 6 months and then do some blood work. But just be mindful that so much is going to change and shift for you during this initial year coming off hormonal birth control. Um, yeah, I think I hit about everything. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I wanted to add more on this. So, about lab work and hormone panels. Let's say you do it every 3 months. I would also check in with how you're doing emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and those departments of your life. What's going on with your relationship with yourself, with your relationship with others, your relationship with your significant other. Um, how's your romance, sexual life? How's Are you able to touch yourself? Have you explored this new yourself in this new chapter of your life? Have you been able to explore with your partner? Um, those are big things. Nervous system scans. If you're working with a nervous system based chiropractor, it would be a good idea to ask for nervous system scans every 3 months as you're going through this. And if they're like us and do nervous system based chiropractic work, they have something that is called a CLA Insight Scanner, which is this is by far one of the best pieces of technology to exist today. And it's going to grab a snapshot into what's going on with your nervous system and your HRV. So if you're doing lab work and you're checking in with yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually each month, definitely check in with your nervous system. That's a big place to start. And then as the last thing I'll like really put a priority on is you replenish nutrients. I cannot stress enough how important it is to consume animal products, organs, ground beef, steaks, whatever, milk, like raw dairy, cheeses, fermented milk, bone broths, all of it, like so important because these are going to give your body the bioavailable form of protein and things like omegas, um, vitamins, vitamin A. Like, oh my God, they're going to give us so much nutrients that we need in order to, like in the most bioavailable form, that we need in order to replenish our stores, our nutrient stores. Um, and so what I want to share with you is the challenges of a vegan vegetarian diet include B12, a lack of B12, include a lack of choline, include a lack of glycine, vitamin A, vitamin K2, DHA, iron, and zinc. And when I mentioned earlier, like these are some of the same things that hormonal birth control depletes our bodies of. So why would you keep depleting your body of these essential nutrients that it needs? So, yeah, that's what I'm going to say there. So, it's going to be a process. It's going to be a big transition year coming off of hormonal birth control. And I'd really encourage you to be patient with your body, extend some grace, extend some compassion. One of the things I had to work through was extending some grace and compassion for myself for getting on the pill in the first place. When we know better, we do better. And that's true of anything in life. Um, Everything is a learning lesson. We're here to learn, evolve, and expand. And start to explore new ways of being, new ways of living, new ways of moving. If you've never trained, like general strength and conditioning, I'd encourage you to join us in B Community. This is our general strength and conditioning monthly membership, and it's open to any woman. And this is where we lift weights, we resistance train. We also do conditioning and like cardio. We breathe heavy. We have breath work. We have mind body connection pieces. And we do it all with a respect around our cycle, and we do it for sustainability. And so we can transfer our strength and endurance over into our daily lives as mothers, entrepreneurs, sisters, lovers, wives, like any role we have in this world. And so I encourage you to check that out with us. Um, I'd encourage you to explore eating new things like organ meats, like liver. Liver is one of the most nutrient dense things you can eat. And, you know, like I mentioned earlier, cultures and tribes around the world will save the most nutrient dense parts of the animals for that mother or that couple that is about to conceive or that is pregnant or that is nursing. They don't do the juice cleanses for mothers. That they would laugh at us. So I just encourage you to think about that. Anyways, that's where we're at. Give yourself a whole full year. Support your own natural detox pathways, nourish your soul, and track your cycle. If you have any questions, let us know. Embrace the process, explore your soul again, and I'll give you some resources. Number one resource is the fifth vital sign. These are all books. Number two is the period repair manual. And oh, what is Nicole's book? Let me see if I can pull up the title. Oh, the Fix Your Period by Nicole Jardim. Those are all great books to start. And there's so much that you can do lifestyle-wise that will influence your cycle. So as I mentioned, give yourself 3-ish months to support your detox and just gather data and then start to tinker with your lifestyle. At least let 1, 2, maybe 3 cycles happen before you start really tinkering with your cycle. Um, and I didn't mention this enough, but focus on sleep, like get quality sleep. Okay, so the fifth vital sign, fix your period, and the period repair manual. The period repair manual is by Lara Bryden. Fifth vital sign is by Lisa Hendrickson Jack. And then honestly, get Lily Nichols's book, Real Food for Pregnancy, because that's how you need to eat. She's got recipes in there. Go check out her blog. It's awesome. Really great place to start. And she's constantly doing research in, the women's space. I'll call it the fertility space. And if you're not having a regular cycle, if you're not ovulating, then there's something less than optimal going on inside your body, especially if you're like in that window. If you're in the menopause window, that's a different podcast. We'll get there one day. But, for me, people always say, they always ask me, why birth fit? I said, I want to be birth fit every freaking day. I want to be birth ready because that's when I know my body's operating at its most optimal version. I am functioning at my most optimal version of myself. So I would encourage you to start to explore that. All right, that's it for today. We're hitting right at 45-minute mark. So thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do and you want more of it, let us know. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, email us info@birthfit.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Leave us a review. Oh, that's what I got to do. I need to see if we have a review to read. We definitely have been reading reviews each podcast, and if I read your review, you get a free t-shirt. So definitely email us info@birthfit.com if we've read your review. And let me pull that up, my friends. You might have noticed on iTunes that we got a new logo change. Finally. It only took a few weeks. All right. I think I read this. No, I didn't. Okay. Kathleen, HO620. Love this podcast. I swear every time I listen, I learn something new. Lindsay brings clear and helpful information in a digestible way. It's covering all things trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum, politics, parenting, and so much more. A must listen. Thank you, Kathleen. All right, y'all. That's it. I love y'all. Thanks for being a part of the BirthFit community. I know together in this world, in our own little our homes, our communities, our local areas, we will make shift happen. So email us with any feedback, info@birthfit.com, and I will talk to y'all soon.